What I have for you tonight, this evening, is a tale of experimentation. And I don't know how many archaeologists any of you know other than me, but if there's one thing that we all love, it's experimentation. All kinds of shit, thank you. So perhaps none of us loved experimentation more than Dennis Puliston, the skinny fellow that you can see over here. Skinny fellow, but renowned Maya archaeologist, expert of the ancient Maya. Now, one dark and stormy night in 1978, while working at Chichen Itza, he hypothesized that the Maya may have incorporated thunder and lightning into their sacred rituals. But how, he wondered? Is it possible that a priest standing on top of a pyramid would act as a sort of human lightning rod? Well, as it turns out, yes. Yes, he would. And that is what we all discovered on this dark and stormy night when the heavens opened up and said, fuck this guy, specifically. Now, ideally, his research design would have included a follow-up question of, can one become a human lightning rod atop a sacred Maya pyramid and live? Because as it turns out, shockingly, no, one cannot. And this is what Dennis Puliston learned on this fateful night. Science! That's a fucked up way of looking at it, but yeah. As he transitioned from his finding out to his experimenting to his finding out era. But Puliston's electric boogaloo aside, his decision stemmed from this deep understanding that he had of the ancient Maya, and specifically the way that they incorporated mind-altering substances from the natural world into their most sacred rituals, specifically through ingestion of entheogens or hallucinogenic flora and fauna. It's art. Now, these included the psychoactive skin of the bufo toad, which the Maya would eat in order to enter the spirit world, commemorated here in a painted vase from the classic period. Or the teonanacatl mushroom, which contains both psilocybin and psilocin, which would have been eaten by both giver and receiver in sacred Maya human sacrifice rituals. The importance of the sacred mushroom can be seen in these suspiciously phallic mushroom statues from Guatemala, including Jeffrey in the middle here, who got on the wrong bus late one night, has seen some shit, and would like to go home to Connecticut now. Thank you. Rip, Jeffrey. Now, if toads and mushrooms were not your thing as an ancient Maya, there was also the opioid effects of either the water lily or the morning glory plant, whose seeds would have been ground into a powder and added to cacao. Now, of course, if you weren't comfortable consuming psychedelic flora directly, whomst among us, you could also feed it to bees and then add the honey to a fermented tequila-like alcohol called balche, and then do as the Maya did. Pour it into a gourd and blow it directly up your ass. Yeah. Science! Fuck it, sure, we can call it that. Which is what you can see on these and many other classic Maya painted ceramics, which is also art. Thank you. Which, you know, I feel like he might have been having some second thoughts, actually. But the other two, they were fucking loving it. They were having the time of their lives. But you know what? Don't let the hallucinogenic enema of it all distract you from the important thing, which is the water lily imagery here. That's the important thing. That's the main focus, which is associated with a depiction here of a monster, water lily monster or way creature. Now, way creatures are those plant and animal species that served as representations of the animated dark forces that ancient Maya sorcerers commanded. Even poor Jeffrey there. You know, he did not choose the dark animated powers life. It was thrust upon him. But here we are, you know? Thrust, exactly. Now, the most powerful of the way creatures was the jaguar, which you can see here grappling with the water lily monster, as the jaguar was most closely associated with Maya kings. This is an association that dates back thousands of years to the Olmec, a civilization that predates the Maya. This is an Olmec throne from La Venta, which depicts an Olmec king seated beneath a were-jaguar motif. Now, by sitting on top of the throne, the king would represent his transformation into the were-jaguar, and through a drug-induced trance state, his journey into the underworld and his emergence into the spirit realm, with which both the Olmec and the Maya thought to be possible via traveling through sacred caves, represented above, there and there. And now at this point, I'm sure you're wondering, you know, great, that's fantastic, very interesting. But wherein lies the electric pulistan of it all? Where is the experimentation? And the answer to that question lies not in the what or the how, but in the why. And fresh on the scene to answer that question in the 1990s were French archaeologists Drs. Jean-Claude and David Lewis Williams. Now, they hypothesized that ancient rock art around the world is basically the tangible result of, to paraphrase, licking toads and fucking around in caves. Or the French equivalent of that, which probably involves some kind of cheese. Now, they hypothesized that the types of images painted on cave walls and their location in those caves corresponded to the visual hallucinations produced by trance states, resulting from intensifying intoxication as one moved from cave entrances into their darker zones. This is an actual illustration from the academic publication because the 90s were a fucking circus for archaeology. Circus! But how were they able to determine scientifically these stages and their corresponding visual hallucinations? Well, you know, comme ci, comme ça, je ne sais quoi. These two cheese-licking space wizards over here were responsible for decades of subsequent speculation as to what these caves actually represented in terms of human history. And whether their theories were valid or not, they mostly derived from painted caves in France, where data on ancient psychedelics is, it's more limited. So do their hypotheses hold up for the Maya? And to answer that question, let's go back to Guatemala. It's about to get a little bit weird, by the way, so when you shout at the next thing, I want you to fucking deafen me, right? Let's go to Guatemala and let's look at the map! Exactly. Let's look at the map of the karstic region of southern Guatemala, and specifically one of the most spectacular painted caves of southern Guatemala, the cave of Nage-Tuniche. Now, like the caves of Chauvet, Lascaux, etc. in France, Nage-Tuniche features these spectacular painted scenes, but the art in Nage-Tuniche is less sort of swirly-whirly cow eye, as it is representations of mythological themes, such as the hero twins, which you can see on the left there, defeating the gods of the underworld and hell by playing a cursed ball game, things like that. Now, this abundance of underworld imagery, it makes sense because caves were seen as the literal entrance to Xibalba, or the Maya underworld. This is a world where everything is the murky opposite of what it is in life, which might explain this saucy little scene from the ordinarily very prudish Maya. This scene is the only image of what has been interpreted as homoerotic art in the ancient Maya world, and the only one to depict graphic, sexualized nudity. I know this piece is an extremely meaningful statement about sexuality and its possible connotation in both the upper and the underworlds. Or is it? Is it possible that we as archaeologists are forgetting one very simple universal truth, that Dicks are hilarious, right? Dicks are hilarious. Dicks are hilarious. They're hilarious 2,000 years ago. They're hilarious now. And by the way, were you all aware of the abundance of academic study of dick graffiti out there? I wasn't. My friend is now because she woke up at 7 a.m. to me going, God damn, that's a lot of dicks. God damn. Now, the art of nage to niche may not have the allegorical symmetry of a peacock, as you see up there, or the literary sophistication of my personal favorite butt boobs balls man, my fiance. But I think it is entirely possible. Art! Yes! Butt boobs balls man deserves respect. But I think it is entirely possible that we are assigning far too much cultural significance to an enterprise that probably started with a silly, goofy mood and an ass full of tequila. So on that specific note, let's raise our gourds, or lower them, I don't know what you're into, to the Maya, to the ancient Maya. May their spirit of experimentation live on in all of us except David Puliston. RIP.